Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jackie Chaplin. I'm a crochet artist and certified crochet instructor behind the business Works of Whimsy Crochet. I sell plushies and patterns on Etsy, and I sell plushies at in-person markets all year round. Today's video is gonna be all about crochet plushie trends, what is selling specifically for 2025. Basically, I made a video, my last video, sharing patterns that I thought would be fun market makes. Not all of them were super market friendly, but I just was looking for inspiration because I'm getting a little bit tired of making the same like maple chicken, pot mushroom, baby octo. And I don't know, I just wanted, after doing market prep of some of those things, I wanted to see if I've been spending my time wisely continuing to make these market staples. I've personally only done one market this year, so I can't tell you like yes or no. So I basically did a bunch of research to figure out what's been doing well this year, and so we could use that information to guide our fall market prep, because that tends to be a lot of our biggest selling seasons of the year because it's right before the holidays. So I just wanted to know, are our plushie trends changing in 2025? Are we done with maple chicken and the little tiny bees? Are they still staples? I've watched market recaps across 15 different channels, big channels, small channels, all across the US. I've got 2 gals from Australia as well. So I just kind of wanted to compare notes, see what might be on the way out, see what might be the next bestseller, and we are going to dive into that data today so we can make more money and stay inspired. And now my battery is going to die, so hold that thought.
A few minutes later.
It's a little off center, I think, but that's fine. So yes, basically what I was saying is, and I have notes here if you see me looking down, because there's a lot of information to remember. Yeah, I was kind of feeling a little uninspired. So I set out to find some new patterns that brought me joy that I'm gonna bring to markets. I don't have any proof that they'll sell well. I'll let you guys know. You can watch that video right here. But I'm also running a business, so I need to make things that do sell. So I wanted to know basically what's actually trending right now. I don't necessarily recommend chasing trends, but if there's something super popular that seems to be flying off the shelves, that's at least something to consider putting into your stock, I would think. So I ended up watching market recap videos across 15 different creators, big and small channels, mostly within the US, but some were from Australia, tossed in for good measure. Basically, I wanted to this side of the world, that side of the world, what's going on. Different states, some from Connecticut, I'm from Florida, another girl was from Florida. Where else? I think one was in Texas. I don't know, there's so many. There was a lot. But yeah, I tried to get a good group and, see. And I basically compare notes from everybody, and to make it easier for you, I'm going to give you that information so you don't have to spend hours and hours researching YouTube to see what's big and what's not. I know I personally, as a crochet business owner, don't always love watching crochet YouTube just because I can get overwhelmed, too many ideas, too much inspiration, or I feel like I should be doing something that I'm not because somebody else is. But I know it's important to check in with the industry every now and again so I can see what's working for others and what might spark new ideas. And I definitely did get some new ideas from people recently that I'm going to be implementing, and we'll see how that goes. So like I said, I've only done one market this year, so I didn't have my own data for 2025. And last year I did put out a video recapping my fall bestsellers from 2023 so it can guide your market prep last year in 2024. And it was bestsellers from my personal business, and that my fall market season, and that's what I used to guide what I made during the fall market season. But I also did not necessarily have the best fall market season, so I am changing my approach a little bit. Not that I had the data anyway, but we're gonna see what everybody's doing, not just what I did that did good, and go from there, if that makes sense. Let me know below if that made sense. My next market is June 14th, so I'll be test driving some of these ideas that I've put together then, but I've never done a summer market, so I don't know if it's a flop. I don't know if it's because of these or if it's just because summer is not necessarily a great retail time. But I will be bringing these into fall, so I do want to do that market and just see if things sell in June. I feel they'll still be selling by the fall market season, so I think that'll be a good indicator of what people will be loving by then, if that makes sense. Basically, to recap, here's what I wanted to know: what plushies are still selling that might have been bestsellers before, you know, are the like classic mini bees and aquatic animals still like must have, must bring kind of items? Are we still doing like Mabel chickens, mushy pops? What's feeling overdone and like needs moved out of stock that we can like part ways with? And what's something that I should consider adding to my inventory? So I'm gonna go creator by creator, letting you know what they have said are their best sellers, what they said they're selling a lot of. For the patterns that keep popping up repeatedly, like if it's a specific, you know, axolotl pattern, I'll let you know that pattern designer. If it's just like people are making this one specific thing but everybody seems to be using, you know, their own kind of pattern that they've acquired, whatever, I'll just say like the type of product. So you can look for, you know, just pattern idea themes versus specific patterns, if that makes sense. Once again, it's hard when you're recording these videos because I am essentially talking to myself, and like I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but like I also tend to overthink and like will over explain things and then end up like cutting out a lot of footage because when I'm watching it back I'm hammering a dead horse at that point. Beating a dead horse, that's the phrase. So we'll get into it. Sometimes these creators didn't specifically say I sold X amount of these are my best sellers, so I'm just kind of using context clues for some of it. Some of them they specify these are my best sellers, or I make these and they always sell kind of verbiage, so it made it easy. But I will link these channels down below so you could go watch their videos too, so you know if you get a different take you can like use that information still. And I want to specify to clarify that these recaps that I watch are specifically for 2025 markets. I did not take any information from anything that sold in like 2024. These are all 2025 market recaps that I watched to get like the most up-to-date information. So, and I'm not sure if I'm saying her channel right, Ali Crochet, A-L-L-E-Z Crochet. I'll pop that name up somewhere here. I did write little notes for some of these creators, and I really liked her because she links to patterns in the description box of her videos so you could see specifically these patterns that she's using. But her bestsellers were all of the loaf cats in various sizes, dumpster fire, emotional support dumpster fires, ducks and fruit hats. Those are specifically her pattern. It's like a bigger duck and it's wearing a fruit hat. I'm not putting up pictures of anything, and I'm sorry, that would be the better way to do this video, but it was time consuming enough to like watch multiple videos across 15 different channels to get you this information. And like really some of these, even though her pattern for that is like a big duck and a fruit hat, you guys have seen the little ducks with the frog hats, fruit hats galore, so like you could still use this information to find patterns that fit that category. And you know, a lot of these, all forms of the thing sold and sell well. I digress. Pickles and cheeky turtles, those are the turtles with like the bum that you could see like when you take off the shell. The next channel I watched was Looping Teddies. They seem to stick to very traditional items, and they are still rocking it with the mini chicks with hats, small octos. Hers specifically had tentacles. I make a version that's kind of nubby, like it's not my pattern, but I use All from Jade. They're like nubby tentacles, so I just wanted to make that distinction from you because like there's a lot of small octo patterns out there. Mushy pops, you know, the pop mushrooms, bees and bee keychains, mini whales, small sea turtles, and again loaf cats. So very classic items, still selling for her. Channel 3 was the Yarn Barn NC, her snuggler setup, and she did say, and I don't remember from who, she did say she got the idea from another creator, but I specifically saw it on her channel, so well played. Good research on your part, because I do like it, I did notice it. 10 out of 10. Yeah, her snuggler setup, if I do make snugglers, I'm stealing that idea also. Bestsellers were Mabel chicken, they have like the chicks with in the eggs, the like babies. She's still rocking those. I've never made the chick version, but like jotting that down. Pot mushrooms, axolotls, the Teresa's Crochet Shop stingrays, mallard ducks. She's specifically using Hera Crochet's pattern. Madeline Mako penguins, loaf cats, possums. Channel 4, Crafty Kate with K's. Bestseller mentioned was loaf cats. Teresa's Crochet Shop. You might know her as the pattern designer. Apparently she's got a YouTube channel, new information to me. She does not look like how I thought she would look. And like I don't know how I pictured her in my head, but like also she's just not like what I pictured. Lovely though, like not in a bad way. I was like, huh. It's like when you hear like an animated character in a movie, like all her patterns are very like animated character vibes and they're like really cutesy. And then, I don't know, she wasn't an animated character in real life. And that just kind of blew my mind a little bit. But yeah, it's like when you listen to like a Disney movie or a Pixar movie, whatever, and then like you see the real actor and it's like that you're really not how I thought you'd look. Yeah, so I had that kind of moment. She has used her own patterns for market prep. I've taken a good handful of her patterns to markets before. Not all of them are super market friendly, but I've also used or like adapted a lot of her patterns for custom orders I've made, because she's got a lot of like cute different animals and people order animals and like, you know, I don't know, they're good. But specifically from her video, and I found this information to be particularly interesting, so I want to share it here in case you don't go watch her video. A lot of her stuff was in plush yarn and a lot of her stuff was in worsted weight yarn, as are the patterns like shown on her Etsy and whatever. And she sold nearly an identical amount of both plush and non-plush items. It was one more for one of them, and I forget which one the winner was, but they were almost dead even. So use that information with what you will if you prefer working in worsted weight yarn. Not that this one person, like, you know, hands down proves that like they sell just as good every time for everyone, but like it's a good, you know, little trial there. She had them side by side in her booth and sold almost an even number of both, so I found that interesting. But her stingrays were her bestseller, clams, dinos, and hermit crabs. So you're seeing a lot of that like aquatic stuff still selling. The next channel was an Australian girl. Her name was Sammy, and their bestsellers were whales, small frogs. She made both the sitting variety of like a mini frog and the leggy frog style, axolotls, loaf cats, and stingrays. Again, that's the Trisha Crochet Shop pattern, or it looks very much like it, either way. The next channel, Rachel's Oasis, mini chickens. Now, these had that style of the Oak and Marlowe chicken, but they were smaller. I don't know who the pattern was by, but like, you know, free chicken pattern. And then look for a small one that looks like the Oak and Marlowe one. Those were her bestsellers along with mini turtles. She sells a lot of small to medium bunnies. She started stocking those and likes those. They're around 6 inches tall. And then smallish dogs in like a sitting pose. They were like a 4 to 5 inch size, but like definitely like bobble stitch kind of arms and legs, so they weren't too time consuming looking. I might be saying her name wrong, but I'm guessing Kayla. She probably introduced herself in her video, but I watched a lot of these. So K-A-L-A-G, the space G, Kayla G. I'm gonna call her Kayla, and I hope that's not wrong, and I'm so sorry if it is. Her bestsellers were Mabel chickens, mini dragons, mini possums, mini turtles, mini axolotls, mini sitting frogs, mini pigs. She seemed to be working from a lot of free patterns, if I'm recalling her correctly. I didn't specifically make a note of that, but yeah, mini items galore on her table. And then she also showed, I don't know if it was her design, but Patrick Mahomes, which was like a chick with like Patrick Mahomes hair, and I loved it. Oh, and his like jersey number, 15, I do believe. That sounds wrong now that I'm saying it. No, it's 15. Yeah, it's 15. I don't watch a lot of football, but I was with somebody who was like Chiefs obsessed, because I spent a lot of time in like Illinois, and like I know that's like the Chiefs aren't their team, but like it's close enough, and my mom lives in Missouri, so like then, you know, I started seeing even more Chiefs stuff. Anyway, I digress. Patrick Mahomes, really funny. I really like that pattern. Didn't mention it as her bestseller, but like I seen it and I thought it was cool. The 9th crochet channel is Crochet by Kara Co. Very thorough videos, very like nice demeanor. She like brings you along at markets, kind of tells you like real time what's specifically selling, which did for research purposes kind of make it a little hard to track, because like I'm jotting it down every time she says it, and then she'd give a like, I sold a couple of blah blah blah. I'm like, that's not a number. But yeah, what I was able to ascertain, it seems like mystery boxes, great for her. It seems like she's only putting one item in those mystery boxes, which we'll get into that toward the end of the video, because I've done mystery bags, but they were more than one item, so we'll talk. Mini chicks with the frog hat, loaf cats, more specialty turtles it seems like than like regular turtles, and by specialty turtles I mean like strawberry turtles, ice cream sandwich turtles. She had People at least seem to be reacting to them, but it seemed like she sold a few of them. Leggy frogs and sitting frogs and whales. I also included in this video Katie being creative because she's a fellow Floridian, and since she is in like my home base basically, I wanted to compare notes with her. But she makes some things that I don't make, which made me think maybe I should spend more time making those things. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there, I guess. She's still rocking chicken nuggets as a bestseller. Mini octos, mini whales, mini bees. I believe those are her own patterns that she's using. Her mini octos have tentacles. Mini possums, pickles, not specifically emotional support pickles either, just like regular pickles. Turtles and fried eggs. The next channel was Rihanna's Crafts. Her bestsellers are scrunchies, leggy frogs specifically, ducks. Her mallards tend to do better. Basic yellow bees, chunky boy mushroom, which it's been a hot minute since I've seen a chunky boy mushroom. Those fell by the wayside, I feel like, when pot mushrooms came out and like naturally. So we kind of phased those out in like end of 2023, end of 2024. Chickens, and I do believe they were like the Oak and Marlow style. At this point, anytime I say chicken, that pattern or like a knockoff of that pattern is essentially what I mean. Channel 12, Faith and Loops Crochet. Now she was fun. She had like Southern Mom vibes, but her logo is like a possum with some yarn, so it's kind of like that bless your heart kind of Southern, so like a little sass with it too. Her bestsellers are small possums, chicks and eggs. I know this is probably late in the game to be saying this, but don't worry, we're gonna recap like the key points of this at the end. So if all this information is overwhelming, we're gonna break it down a little bit. But yeah, the bestsellers for her, small possums, chicks and eggs. I believe she's specified that pattern designer for that, and it wasn't the like Oak and Marlow chicken version, but they looked a lot like it to me. So do with that information what you will. Turtles, bees, the crochet mushroom things. Madeline Mako animals, she had a variety and sold like 4 different kinds of Madeline Mako animals. Spiders and mini hot dogs, like mini like wiener dog hot dogs. The next channel is called I Could Make That Butt. She was fun. She kind of like looks like a librarian. She's got like the glasses and the cardigan, but she had like, you know, a funny kind of sarcastic vibe a little bit at times, and I found that amusing. Like there was a little bit of a debacle over like a little 7-year-old vendor next to her, like dressed like a princess in a sparkly dress, essentially selling her little entrepreneur self off. Not selling herself off, selling her little product, whatever I'm trying to say. So she's like, how can I compete with like a tiny adorably dressed child, and like valid points. But anyway, her bestsellers were bees, pickles and chicken nuggets, pot mushrooms, octo and whale keychains, sea turtles, axolotls, and again those loaf cats are coming up. The next channel was Crochet Crafts by Jana. She had a great pattern list in her description box as well. Her bestsellers were axolotls, hanging plants, mini whales, mini turtles, and the cheeky turtles. She called them big booty turtles. Now I don't know if that's a different pattern, but it's that same concept of like you take the shell off, you can see the turtle's butt. And the last channel I watch is The Girl Who Knots. She is another Australian content creator selling in Australia, but I particularly liked her channel because she converted the Australian prices to the American dollar like on the screen, so that information could be helpful quick, so you don't have to like, you know, price compare. Though I will say, if that's your whole pricing strategy is to like price compare, price match, don't do it like that. But it is always good information to have, like, you know, kind of seeing where you fall in the market. I tend to be priced in the upper end, and I do that because A, I want to make money, B, I want to actually like make a profit, and not just like get my materials back, and C, this is like my whole actual like business, so like it needs to be profitable. So all 3 of those answers were kind of the same but like different, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so good information to have, not solely information you should be basing your pricing on, was the gist. But she's rocking mystery boxes with 1 item in it, loaf cats, penguins, mini frogs, and chickens as well. So we're gonna like consolidate that into what I feel like is the most necessary information for you to have, because that was a lot of information, and 15 channels is a lot, and some of those people had multiple bestsellers and had like crazy amounts of stock, and do like a lot of markets, and some of them not so much. But the takeaways are, Love cats seem to be the animal of the year. I've personally never made them. I've seen them before, going back a couple of years, but it seems to be like a lot of people are making them now in variety of different sizes, and they seem to be selling definitely well in kittens, but even like the chunkier love cats seem to be selling for people. People do seem to be doing well still with the traditional mini bees, mini octos, mini turtles, mini whales, even keychain versions of those. I left keychains off the list for a lot of people, even though they said they had some keychain bestsellers, because unless they specified like this was a whale keychain, it's my best-selling keychain kind of deal, it was kind of vague. They just said I sold a keychain for $15, which a lot of times is what I did in my videos when I was selling keychains, but like it's hard to analyze that information. I don't plan on doing keychains right now. They were never something that like consistently sold for me. It's not like I brought them and at every market I would sell a keychain, so I personally stopped doing them. But a lot of people seem, especially in the aquatic animals, to do well with keychains. One thing I noticed is with the mini octos, it does not seem to matter whether they got the nubby tails or like the full kind of like tentacles. They seem to be evenly matched, and mini to some people are like golf ball size like mine, and then mini to some people are like baseball sized, and those seem to be doing well across the board. It does not seem like people have a specific preference for like the look or size of them. Just as long as they were in like the $5 to $15 range, they seem to do well for people. Same kind of concept with mini bees. I've seen mini bees this big, people talking about them selling well, and then I've seen mini bees like, you know, this big, people talking about them selling well. And again, turtles, anything like tofu turtle by Meg Makes Pattern size or smaller seem to do well, and we're usually in like the $10 to $15 range, and you know, doing okay for people. Other minis that sold well consistently for people seem to be axolotls, possums, and any form of like a chicken and a duck, especially in the oak and marlow style body or like the mallard duck colors. If you're gonna do larger items, it seems like specialty type turtles do well over like regular turtles. As in the people that were doing both, it seemed like their cooler turtles were moving a little bit faster. So if you're gonna do regular turtles, I would keep those on the smaller end, and then have your bigger turtles, if you want to do bigger turtles, be a specialty type, whether you do like a cake shell or like an ice cream cone shell or something like that, is what my recommendation based on the information I got would be. Though I personally have been hanging on to a strawberry turtle forever now, since like February last year. So while that seemed to be the case for people, that the specialties go faster, not faster, but the specialties sell too. I've not had that experience in like a hot minute. But I do know those like mini tofu turtle style turtles sell, because I brought 3 to my last market and sold all 3. For whatever reason, it does not seem like too many people seem to be doing dinosaurs right now, and those who are making larger ones, like in the 6 to 8 inch range. So perhaps that's a sign to skip the pocket dinos right now and go for like a bigger dino that's a little more impressive. I personally brought All From Jade's dino to my last market, made with burnout blanket with an 8mm hook, so he was like a good solid size, and he sold at my last market even though he was kind of spinny, so like that seems to be true for me. I've not had any mini dinos that I've made this year, so I don't know how they're selling. So maybe this is something that's naturally been phased out that doesn't need to be, something to keep an eye on, I would say. And it seems like things with hats, especially ducks with hats, seem to sell well. But there was some bunnies in clothes that sold well, some ducks with clothes that sold well. Even the mini chicks, even though they're not removable, those seem to do well. So just something to keep in mind. Now, if you are going to make something with the removable clothes, make sure you price accordingly, because that's going to take you extra time, extra materials. So that level of effort needs accounted for. But even just like built-in overalls, that wouldn't be like super time consuming to do because they're a part of the plushie body. Those might be something you want to do in your business if you're not already. But again, if it's like separate and you're doing like a build your own situation, make sure you price accordingly. Yes. And to reconfirm, aquatic animals, mainly minis, are still selling really well. For the most part, oak and marlow chickens, especially maple chicken, but also the little chicks, seem to be still selling well for people. I've noticed a little bit of a slowdown, but it's definitely not stopped, and they definitely get commented on at every market. So while I might not make them like 10 at a time right now, I'm still gonna bring, you know, at least 5 or 6 to my markets just to see in a variety of colors. And I've sold everywhere from like a white to an orange to a pink and those, so like any color combination seems to do fine. Pot mushrooms seem to still be in, but these are another one that I've noticed and that a couple of people have said are slowing down a little bit. They're still definitely selling, but for me, again, I probably don't need to prep like more than 10 at a time. If anything, 5 to 8 is probably sufficient. They still get attention just for being like cute and whimsical, and people still like that they pop. But at this point, a lot of people have seen them, so like they're a little bit over. Whereas like, you know, the chickens, even though we're all making chickens, everybody's seen them. We're not all always doing the exact same colors in them because like, you know, you can essentially make any sort of colored chicken, use any yarn for that. Like the variegated, pink variegated yarn has been like, you know, aces for me. That's probably one of the most sold colors of my chickens. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Still doing okay, but something to keep an eye on. They do seem to be slowing down. I wouldn't say take them out of stock completely right now though. Teresa's Crochet Shop Stingrays came up time and again for a lot of people. I've never made those, but it seems like if I'm going to add another aquatic animal to my like list of aquatic animals, and at this point I have a whole aquatic wall, those were probably going to be like my next make. It seems like everyone who had them sold at least a couple at their markets. Items that might be on their way out. Leggy frogs are seeming to be hit or miss for a lot of people. It seems like as far as mini frogs go, the sitting variety are doing just a little bit better than leggy frogs. So if you're not vibing with leggy frogs, especially like very few people had the large ones anymore. Everybody just had like the mini leggy frogs. If you're not loving the crochet and down a chain part, which I personally don't, especially on the big ones, those could be something you phase out and replace with a more like sitting style. And I've seen different varieties of the sitting style. So I would just, you know, look for something handheld size and go from there if you wanted to like replace those. Individual food items are seeming to be hit or miss. Some people are doing sweets like ice creams, cupcakes. Some people are doing mini fruit still like strawberries, blueberries, oranges. Some people are doing fried eggs and then chicken nuggets, but they seem to be something that like does good at one market, doesn't get a lot of attention the next. So if you're gonna do food and you want to do food, it seems like the foods that particularly perform the best were fried eggs, nuggets, and pickles out of all of the foods for whatever reason. I know for me, anytime I've had fried eggs, I've never held on to them for very long, but it's not something I regularly stock, so I wouldn't like call it a bestseller for me, you know, so like I can't speak to that. Now, when I have emotional support pickles and maybe I make them bad boys at like 8 at a time, they do go fast when I make them, but because I find doing the cards on them kind of tedious, you know, I don't always have them. But I do think if I always had them, they would definitely be a bestseller up there, because I've had markets where I've sold like 5, 6 at a time, or I've cleared out stock that I've brought, you know, like every time I have them kind of deal. Chicken nuggets, out of the 3 that seem to be bestsellers for people still, the fried eggs, the pickles, and the chicken nuggets, those probably move the slowest for me, but people do comment on them a lot. So I guess do with that information what you will. I'm personally feeling, people have convinced me to try regular pickles because I do like the emotional support pickles, but I don't know. People have convinced me that I think if I'm going to stock a food, regular pickles should be my go-to, because they'd whip up pretty fast. And if I'm not doing the card, but people will still like them, you know, that's something to think about. Another thing that seemed to be hit or miss are plant related things like the hanging plants, the small potted plants, plants that pop. They get a lot of love, but they just seem to be inconsistent sales wise. I do feel like people are underpricing them too, especially if it's like in the worsted weight variety. But I did notice if you're going to make them, especially in the worsted weight varieties, somebody said their plainer versions of things seem to do a little better. And then my suggestion is if you want to do a hanging planter thing situation, look for a plush version, because those are seeming to be, at least from the patterns I've seen, a little more simple, a little less intricate, so more time friendly potentially than their like worsted weight counterparts. So yeah, if you must, that's what I would do. Look for plush versions. So out of the trends I noticed, these are the ones that I'm like most excited to try and like add into my stock. It's come to my attention that loaf cats are apparently in. I don't know where I've been, but apparently I need to make them. Black cats, orange tabby cats, and gray cats seem to be the ones that do quite well for people. Literally all the stock, all the sizes, aces. I even seen some girls doing like some like random, like not traditional cat colors, selling loaf cats. So yeah, I'm gonna personally probably stick with kittens, especially at first, to try them out to see. I've done the maple chicken pattern, but I've never done the baby chick version. And the couple people that I watched that had those seem to be like fan favorites. So I think I'm gonna give those a try because those don't look terribly time consuming. And it would be cool to have like more stuff at like a lower price point still. I do feel pretty filled out in that category, but if they whipped up fast enough to be like an $8 item or less, like that would bring me joy. And mystery items, of course, seem to do quite well for people. Now, I based my mystery bags off of Katie Being Creative's mystery bags, and she was doing like 2 or 3 items. Hers might have been 2, and I was doing like 3 items in my bags. They sold well, like every time I had them, and I've done them anywhere from like $15 to $45. Just depends on what I put in them. Yeah, they always did well. However, it seems like people are doing mystery bags, boxes, whatever, with 1 item now. And I had seen in a crochet group a girl doing the patterns from Haru Crochet's floof balls packet and making those like mystery bag items and doing just 1 in a bag. So I have gently stolen that idea, and it's been reaffirmed that it's a good idea by watching this, because anybody who had mystery anything sold at least some, usually like putting up big numbers on them. Like if they brought 10, they'd sell like 6 kind of vibe. I'm here for that. I've already prepped all 20 of the items in that pack, and I've got my bags for them. And today I just got the sticker printer paper and the cardstock paper that I'm going to use to make the label for the bag, and then like the product label to go in the bag. That's something, if you want to make the mystery bag item thing a little more approachable, try just doing 1 item in the bag. I'm pricing mine for 20 bucks because when I went through and made them all, I took an average, and the average price based on like my pricing formula came out to be like $16.50. The bags cost me about 50 cents to make. I ordered the paper, the sticker paper and the cardstock paper, and it's going to take time to design and like label them. So I've rounded that up to 20. Out of all of them, I only had 1 of them that actually took me long enough that it came out to like $25, and that's the hedgehog, but a lot of them in there were $13, $14, $15 items. So I don't feel bad about doing the 20. I think it'll be good, and I think it'll be profitable, and I think people like mystery items, and that's what we're gonna see. Now, the next things on my list, we're still like in the trendy category, but maybe not like, you know, super top tier for everybody, but I want to do it in some capacity for my business specifically, is this next list, which I've kind of said about some stuff already, but like, yeah, you know, that sentence didn't make sense. But these are things I want to try, but aren't as huge as like the things that I've already mentioned. Dumpster fires, those seem fun. Not everybody had those, but I like the concept. Some type of animal and removable clothes, because that Ashley Peters duck debacle. Since then, I've really liked the idea of like a build your own whatever. So I would like to find some type of animal and clothes for it, and it hopefully not take a billion years to make. Maybe I'll do the duck, maybe I'll do something else. I don't know yet. Plush hanging plants, because I do think I want to do the animals on swings, but I also want to do something similar that's not an animal. And I've seen from these people, one of them had like a plush planter that looked simple. It only had 3 flowers in it. The flowers look like the flowers that would take like 2 minutes to make. So it just seems like more approachable. I already said, but I'm reiterating, I want to try just basic pickles, not emotional support pickles, so I could skip doing the card. I've never done plant pickles, so I want to see how that goes. Snugglers, I think they come out so cute. I just don't embroider eyes well, and that always kind of sucks, but I do think I want to try those if I have time to make them, especially because I liked how that one girl was displaying them. Like, I feel like that would look good in my booth. Food animals, like the ice cream sandwich turtle, I vibed with that. And then 2 different girls had some variation of like a wiener dog hot dog. One was like a big one and one was like a little one. So I do think I want to make both those iterations, and I've already started the big wiener dog. There's a piece of wood stuck to that for my basket that's breaking. This is not a market friendly pattern, but I'm going to sell it at my market, and it's going to be cute. And this is the puppy version. She's got a, believe it or not, bigger version in her pattern pack. And I do know that someone will eventually buy it. It's just more expensive than I thought it would be, come out to be. But I'm happy today, in like the final bit of my research, I seen like a little version, like a handheld size. I mean, I know I'm holding this one in my hand, but it literally looks like my hand.
You still filming?
Sorry. Wiener dog. Want to make them. The other one, small. And then snakes. A snake. A snake seems like only a couple of people had snakes. They did seem to go well. Weren't necessarily #1 sellers, but like they did get a lot of attention, and I've never made one, but people seem to like the fact that they could wear it kind of vibe. And I just have to see how long that kind of thing will take. And like to go round and round that many times seems not that fun. So we'll see if I actually get there, but maybe a snake is where I'm at on that. So, final thoughts here. Basically, I've added a lot to my go-to list. I've specifically bought patterns based on information I've like ascertained from this video. So I will share those specific patterns in another video. Like I said, you could watch my last video of patterns that I added just for funsies because I wanted to make them essentially. But I'm basically going to trial run stuff from that list, stuff from this list, and report back after my June market. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've linked all 15 channels below so you can check them out. I need to go back through and like personally subscribe to everybody still, but I'm going to tag them so like you guys can go check out all their stuff because they were good creators. Some of them are new to me, and like I said, some are big channels, some are small channels, but some of the small channels they did not watch like they were like novice YouTubers. So like we got to get those people some more views because like they're honestly pretty good. I was entertained by like all of these people, and I would, if you have the time, at least check out a few of them so you can see if you're interpreting that information like the same way as I am, and you can hear directly from them about their own experiences. Let me know in the comments what you've been selling at your market that's selling well. Have you noticed any of these like plushie trends? Have you noticed other things that seem to be up and coming that I didn't mention? And like, what are you guys, aside from like trending stuff, just kind of loving right now for yourself? And if you want to see the new patterns I've already been using for my markets, again, check out my last video. And in the next video, I guess we'll go over the patterns I specifically bought based on this list. Some of them were specifically mentioned in this list. Some of them are kind of based off other things, you know, like ideas that came from this list that I like acquired the pattern for. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys and goodbye.